really important skill, and we're going to learn it on ourselves first before we take it out for other people. Palpation just means the ability to listen with your hands, to turn the information that's coming through your fingertips into a useful map of what's happening inside of somebody. So when we get a little further into this course and we pull out some table time, bring some clients in and feel among friends, then we're going to have some more unfolding of this topic to do. But to begin initially, I want you to just come on in with me to your own body, just like we've been practicing, accessing that mental map of what the inside of you and the outside of you is like. Through visualization, we're going to start using our hands as well, because that's a really primary tool for us to learn about ourselves and our own bodies. So first, just go ahead and tune into the information of your hands themselves. Sometimes I like to just warm them up, literally using some friction to bring some heat, bring some attention. When we use this, friction is going to activate our circulation to turn up, and that's going to give us a little more sensitivity right away. If you've ever wondered why massage therapist might do that ahead of time in a treatment that you're receiving, that's why. So now I've got a little tingly sensation going on in my palms and my fingertips, and I'm just going to start accessing that. If you're watching my eye tracking, you can probably pick up that my thoughts are beginning to turn inward as I process this sensory information and drop a little bit away from processing verbal or cognitive information quite as thoroughly. And that's what you want to aim for too. You're going to bias towards sensory information in a way that in our modern life we're often discouraged from. Being too aware of sensory information is going to usually attract negative attention or put you through sensory experiences that are very loud and perhaps too intense. And for my students here, I expect many of you are already quite sensory sensitive, picking up a ton of information that might not be accessible to the people around you a lot of the time. So just coming into acceptance of that, coming into acceptance and awareness of the way that our mind has to shift state to access this sensory information more completely. Take a few breaths and observe what's happening in your hands. So right now, we're going to start on the surface layer. And we'll just work on the arms because it's easy for us to get to our arms. If you've got a jacket on, just pull that off. We don't have to have any complicated draping in order to feel what's going on with our arms or protect privacy. So this is a great place to start. So I want you to just pick a hand that's listening and an arm that's talking. And start letting them get to know each other. I'm sure that your body calls you into some self-massage as you go through different sensations. Sometimes tenderness will just attract that touch, and you'll want to give yourself a little firm grip or a little pulling. But let's begin to do this with intention to build your awareness, build your alertness to the sensations of the body. I'm just resting my elbow on my leg here so that I don't have to think too much about the angle of support for that arm while my fingers begin to explore. Okay, so I want you to first just notice the texture of the skin and allow yourself to switch back and forth in this awareness between what your fingers are picking up as information. Listen through your fingers. And then, without changing your movement, listen through your arm instead. Be the receiver. And notice what you pick up from the inside of you with this palpation. Okay. Just becoming conscious of that ability to take information as a palpator and as a receiver. is going to really allow you to register the information of your own sensory system with clients and on your own in a way that activates your awareness, your health, and your somatic embodiment. Okay, so we're picking up skin. I want you to also tune into the bones themselves. So we're going to have a few distinctive bones in the arms. We're going to look for the humerus. That's one larger bone. You'll probably find it the easiest to pick up at first if you come right through the head of the humerus here. You can give yourself a little bit of an angle of movement. So it's a pretty good place where you're going to get fairly direct contact with the bone. You can see my pressure here is pretty firm, pretty deep. You don't have to jam to hurt yourself. You're just finding the depth where your fingers can pick up as much information as possible about what's going on here. So try to distinguish the bone. There's also a lot of muscle tissue that you're reaching through. You can reach through right here. You probably get a little bit of a funny sensation. This is the area that we tend to want to protect. Just forward of the armpit on the arm, essentially. There are some pretty significant blood vessels and also nerves passing through here. So that protective instinct might turn up. But simply allow yourself to slowly move around those sensations and keep seeking deeper in for the bone. You'll feel the muscles engage. Beautiful. Okay. So another great place to find some more direct bone access is right at the elbow, especially side to side on the elbow, and of course at the point of the elbow. There are names for all these locations on the bones, and you don't have to learn that for this class, but just be good to know. Somebody who's doing this all the time professionally actually could go straight to the locations on your body specifically with a verbal written description with these bony landmarks, we'll often call them. So just find your way around that bone of the elbow. Pick up what your fingertips can know about your elbow. And pick up what your elbow can know about your elbow. Now you're getting that sense of the bone. So we've registered a bit about the skin. We've registered a bit about the bone more directly. And I want you to go into, let's grab the bicep here because it's going to be a bit of muscle tissue that's fairly easy to access. So just you can use one finger or a few fingers. Just simply grab that belly of the muscle. We'll call that the belly, which is the bulk of the muscle fibers where they're gathered together. With this still position, feel around what's going on exactly with the muscle. Build this map in your mind. Pick it up through your fingers and pick it up through your upper arm itself. Especially allow yourself to notice if there's any locations away from what you're touching that change sensation. You may have some sensation up further into the elbow or shoulder as you're mobilizing this muscle belly here. Try lifting it away from the bone. Yeah. And get that sensation there. How it moves. You can follow down the shape of the biceps specifically. It's called that because it divides bicep, two heads. So as it divides, you're going to get these separated points. See if you can feel into the bicep right where that division happens. And that's just helps your fingers be able to pick up the information of the underlying muscle. Now that we're here and you kind of isolated this bicep sensation, we're going to feed right into some connective tissue. So connective tissue is another type of tissue of the body, a system of the body that's responsible for holding us all together. So we're going to pick up this sensation. So after the muscle fibers themselves have kind of diffused out, then they're being held onto the bone by this strappy material. In this case, muscle to bone connection is a tendon. So we're going to feel the bicep tendon. There's a few other tendons. It's not too important right now that you can distinguish which is which, but just feel for that more strappy material. Compare the difference between this kind of springy, more ropey, but fairly hydrated texture of the muscle bellies compared to the stringier, thinner material of this connective tissue, tendon in this case. Okay. Now I want you to actually tune in to the circulation and feel what you can feel about the circulation. There may be areas along your arm that feel especially full of fluid, or that may feel a little less full of fluid. Into the elbow is often going to be a little bit different texture, where you've got fluid in between the tissues, but it doesn't feel so cushy. Whereas through the skin and the muscles, there's a lot of fluid there. So there's both blood and what we'll call interstitial fluid. So just notice what you can pick up about this sort of interior hydraulics, what's happening inside the texture of you, where you can tell there's more liquid and less liquid. Begin to tune into that. Don't forget the back of your arm or that tricep area. This is not something that there will be examinations on. It's very difficult to compare the skill of one practitioner to another on palpation on an average healthy person and healthy tissue. But the more that you develop your sensibility to feel the difference between bone, muscle, connective tissue, and fluid movement, the better. Okay? I want to also just take a moment to register your nervous system uptake. So in this case, we've been touching the skin. We've got that kind of modest traction over the skin where we're sliding the skin up and down, across, back and forth, where we can feel that sensation of the skin moving over the muscle and underlying tissue. You can even pick it up. But now I want you to lift off so that you're barely touching the skin, or even not touching the skin at all. Kind of descend and ascend. Listening to what your hand can pick up and understand about this situation, and what your skin can pick up and understand. How close do you have to be before you really get the sensation in the skin? Some of you will have to have contact. Many of you, I suspect most of you, based on who is signing up for this course, will begin to have some sensation in the arm, picking up the sensation in the arm before the hand has made contact. And we do have a certain amount of electromagnetic registration where we can pick up information about the electricity and magnetism around us. We have some neurological suggestion in that you know when your arm is going to be touched by your own hand. So your central nervous system is organizing this information for you, and that can be useful as well. And we also have a fair amount of sensitization to temperature change, so just the heat of your hand approaching your arm is probably perceptible to you. How's that feel? If you're interested in balancing out, of course, you can start the video again and do it with the other hand on the other side and just mirror it in your mind. But that's a pretty good beginning. Tune in for a moment and notice the hand that you were palpating with, that you've tuned up. Notice how the sensation differs from the other hand that was more in receiving mode. Just notice that. This is so much of our work, is becoming aware in finer and finer detail of the information our own bodies are giving us. And of course, that information provides us an abundance of resources and information, intuitive knowledge as we approach our clients. So today we swept through some skin, some bone, some muscle tissue. We checked in on circulation. We felt a little bit of the nervous system. So this is just an overview of how we're going to build our sensation and awareness into our hands, into our own embodied knowledge of ourselves. So thanks for joining me, and we'll see you in the next lesson.